welcome to the year 2021. Thank you so much for your interest in the Astro calendar. And you can see the Pleiades constellation on the cover, which a lot of cultures start their new year, such as the Hawaiians. It's an Hawaiian-inspired lunar calendar, so we're going to go over month to month. And of course, this month is January. I know we're already into the first week of January, but the new moon is happening on the 12th, where it comes together at 23 degrees of Capricorn when the sun conjoins it, making it invisible, which is the word for muka in Hawaiian. And that's why the 12th is the muka and the 13th is the hilo. The hilo is when the slightest crescent can be seen, and that's how they knew that it was the beginning of the new month. And that's the navigator moon. So this little calendar is designed for you to actually go out and view the night sky for yourself, finding the moon. That's the most important thing in actually Hawaiian culture, is the direct observation of the phase. So these are the phases of the moon through January. And as you can see, that we're already into the first week. And like I said, coming into the 12th will be the muka, the new moon, at that 23 degree of Capricorn, where Pluto is, the great transformer, and where the stellium was last year in 2020. So it's kind of closing up 2020, as you can might be aware of all the turbulence in the country, and Capricorn is often associated with the governments and the structures. Also the structures in our bodies, our bones, our teeth, our structures. That's the Capricorn, the skeleton. And having good bones and taking care of your bones and your teeth and your structure. And that's what's been happening all through 2020 with the breakdown of the structures. And we see it now in 2021 with the riots at the Capitol building and all of that, right as Mars entered Taurus, squaring Saturn that recently went into Aquarius as of the winter solstice. So there's a lot going on, as you can see, with the astrology of January, of obviously 2020 and now into 2021. We've got different players. We've got Jupiter and Saturn that moved into Aquarius on the winter solstice of 2020. And now Mars just went into Taurus, and it's squaring Saturn, and we can see the breakdown of the government and how we really need to, transform. The people need to step up. Aquarius is the sign of the people, and that's usually when the new year begins, is the new moon in Aquarius. So that'll be next month, so stay tuned for that. And that's when a lot of people around the world, namely the Chinese New Year, which is 1/5 of the population, and it's also the Lunar New Year, when the Sun and Moon are in the sign of Aquarius, and we'll get into that next month. But for this month, the halo moon, what is it leading into? It's leading into the sign of Aquarius, because the sun and moon, what makes the new moon is they're both in the same sign. And when they're at the exact degree, which this month at 23 degrees of Capricorn, the moon is invisible. That's the muka moon on the 12th of January. You can see it here. It's all dark. And then the 13th is the hilo moon, when you can see that first tiniest little streak of light in the sky. You have to get out there at sunset, right at sunset, and look for it yourself. You'll see just that little tiniest streak of light. That's how the navigators knew that it was the new month, and that's why it's considered the navigating moon. And then we go into the Hokua moon on the 14th, and that's the first seen crescent. Sometimes people consider that Diana's bow, that sort of thing, but many names, many cultures. I believe the Jewish calendar is also a lunar new year, based on the lunar cycle. I don't know that much about it, but a lot of cultures around the world use the lunar phases for the month. Basically, astrology is a clock, and it tells time, and astrologers were the calendar makers, and that's how you knew that it was a new month, by the new moon. That's why moon and month are similar word. And every degree in astrology is a day and time. So by the time we reach the new moon, we're already into the sign of Capricorn, which started on the winter solstice, 23 degrees. That's almost the full sign. It only goes to 30 degrees, and 23 degrees is the tilt of the Earth's axis. So it's a major degree number, and being so, that is very powerful. I mean, look at the times we're living, and it's conjoining with that Pluto at 23, 24 degrees of Capricorn. Now it's moved on, and then as the sun and moon go over it, it'll be more intense. And look what's happening. Our structures, the government of the USA is being taken down, is actually collapsing, and that would show with this Pluto transit right with the sun and moon. And it's probably going to intensify this next week, because we're a week out. We're at the quarter phase right now, so it's the 7th and the 13th, well, about 6 days, so we're coming into it. And then as the with the Hawaiian moon phases, after the Hilo moon is the Hokua moon right here on the 14th, and that's when you can see the crescent like I was talking about, and that's also a spirit moon. And there's one after the full moon too. The full moon is in white, and then the Mahalani moon is also a spirit moon. So the moon after the Hilo and after the Hoku moon are the spirit moons, the Hokua and the Mahalani moons. And the way that, the Gregorian calendars are set up, and this one follows that suit as well, as far as being started January 1st instead of starting, say, December 21st on the winter solstice. And or even like the Hawaiians would start their months on the new moon or the Hilo moon. And so this one, we're just going traditional January 1st. So it's kind of finishing up the old cycle until the middle of the month, until the 13th, when we begin the new moon, the Hilo moon phase into the cycle. And so after that, we go into the Ku phases, and there's 4 of those, and that finishes up. And then we go into the rounded phases, which come up to after the Olis, the Ku and the Olis, and then the rounded phases. So they divide it into 10 days segment. And the Ku are more the growing moons. The first 4 moons after the Hoku and Hilo phase are the growing moons. You can see that, and that's very action oriented. And then there's 4 Oli moons, with the last one being the Oli Pau. And those are the resting moons, more of the resting moons. And then we go into the rounded phases, which is the Huna, Mahalo, and Akua, and Hoku, and then the Mahalani. And so the full moon is always at least 3 days, even though it's a 10 days on a hula with all of the phases going. But the 3 that before is the Aku, the Hoku is the fullest, and then the Mahalani is the day after the spirit moon. And because the new moon is so late, by the time we get into the full moon, the sun will have already gone into Aquarius, and so the full moon will be in Leo. So that'll be a whole different energy than we're in now, because this time now in Capricorn, with the new moon being in the same sign as the sun, of course, so they're both in Capricorn, it's a lot of earth. It's a double earth sign. And so, grounding yourself in earth, maybe if you like to use oils, pine scents or eucalyptus or frankincense or any kind of the cypress, the yummy earthy scents, and really getting down to the bones and like, what does the structure need? What do you need to rearrange to come through into this air mode that we're really going to be feeling next month, in the next lunar month of Aquarius, because that's what we're moving into. We're moving out of Capricorn, even though the new moon is in Capricorn, and we want to, we're finishing up all the old structuring and, anything we can do to learn from the old, learn from the past, learn from the ancients and the ancestors, and tap into that ancient knowledge. But then how can we move it forward into the Aquarian age and the next sign of Aquarius, where the sun and moon will be, and where the lunar new year will be on February 12th. And that's very exciting. We're going to have a little celebration over here on Planet Girl channel. And I know we're running through this pretty fast, but I just wanted to give an overview of the monthly moon cycles. So, because it's, not from new moon to new moon, we'll just go ahead and finishing up in the next month, which will be February. Then we'll have the waning moon phases. And are going to be up until the new moon on the 12th, which is the Lunar New Year. The new moon will actually be on the 11th, but the Hilo moon and the year of the metal ox will occur on the 12th. And of course, the moons will look different depending on where you live. If, England is 12 hours away, Australia is another day. And in the back, we do have the ephemeris here, which shows you every planet that is happening in the night sky and in our solar system that all revolve around the sun. So that's the planetary alignment. And for January, we've got some major changes. We've got the Venus going into Capricorn, and we've got Mercury going into Aquarius. And of course, we talked about Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, and Mars in Taurus, and Neptune still in Pisces, and Pluto still in Capricorn, and so on. And this ephemeris is for universal time. So, the moon phases are going to look different here in Hawaii than they are in England, say, because it's 12 hours away. When we have daytime, they're at night, and it's exactly almost 12 hours. So the moon only moves through each astrological sign in 2.5 days. And so the phases change, quite quickly. So it can already have moved. And, in Australia, Southern Hemisphere, that's a whole different story, because the opposite seasons, and so it'll look different. So really, exploring for yourself. So this is just a guide. When you see the full dark of the moon, they're like on the 12th, that is the new moon. Then the next day would be the Hilo moon. And when you see the full white of the moon, that would be the full moon. And then the next moon will be the spirit moon, the Mahalani moon. But of course, you have to go out and look for yourself and find the moons yourself. This is just a guide to help you with the tuning in to the lunar cycle, because it is kind of the natural monthly cycle that we're all experiencing. Of course, it's going to affect everyone differently depending on what sign it's in and what sign you are. And the moon rules the oceans, rules the tides, and so it can rule our emotions too. And so, tuning in, maybe resting a little more when the Ole moons and things of that nature. And just, tuning in, how do you feel? And, make your own notes. There's a few pages in the back of the book where you can write your own notes on, keep a monthly lunar like a dream book, maybe some notes on how you feel during the different moon phases or the different zodiac signs as they keep going. Like I said, every day is a degree in the zodiac, and it keeps moving along just like a clock. That's basically what astrology is. It's a clock. And so are the calendar makers. So thanks so much again for your interest in the Astro calendar. This is the first year. Hopefully 2022 will be a little more detailed. And I know the moon phases are going to start earlier next year, January. So wishing you a wonderful 2021, and please check in next month for the Lunar New Year. All right, Planet Girl signing off on the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii. Aloha.